Look at them. They make me sick. Sitting in the water like it's summertime. Look at this. Doesn't even faze them. Well, for starters, welcome to my video. In this video, I'm going to be jumping in the lake. Hope you enjoy it. If any one of you out there thinks this is a good idea, I can tell you from experience, it really isn't.
What you're looking at right now is a map of the route I took from my home to the dive spot. The red line represents about 350 meters in distance traveled.
Take this as a disclaimer. Before we begin, I would like to draw your attention to the graphic on the screen. Take this as a warning. If you jump into the lake in winter conditions, you are going to get hypothermia. I know somebody out there watching this will want to try this, and if that is you, please do it smart, because if you do it dumb, you end up dead. These symptoms are lethal if left unchecked. That being said, let's jump into the water.
This area was totally frozen last time we were here. Now I wouldn't feel safe walking out onto the ice sheets because if you look really closely, they're moving.
Originally when I came here, the ice was totally solid. It's just too unstable to go out there now.
So this is the spot we're going to be doing it. There's a nice little natural staircase here, so it should be easy to get out of once I'm in a very wet and vulnerable state. Additionally, I might be a little panicked when I come out, and I'm just trying to counteract that by always having multiple escape routes available to me. Sitting around thinking about it, I'm going in.
Okay.
This is it.
All right. As soon as I hit the water, I felt the overwhelming sensation of cold. It hits so hard and so fast that you just go numb. You quickly regain feeling, and that's when it really seeps in. I sped this next part up because it's kind of ridiculous. I feel the need to take off my boots just because there's water in them. But this is one of the symptoms of hypothermia. You become confused. Me taking off my boots actually didn't help at all. In fact, the water just dripped back into the boots from my clothes, so this was a total waste of time.
So what we're doing now is I'm just walking home. I'm gonna get out of these wet clothes and probably jump into the shower. You know, if you ever find yourself in a situation like this where it's below freezing and you're soaking wet, sometimes people feel the need to take off their clothing in a diluted attempt to make themselves feel warm. What happens is the body becomes so cold that it tricks itself into thinking it's warm, which I'm actually getting that right now. I feel significant warmth in my hands and my knees. So I feel warm, I feel like I'm too hot, which is not what you'd expect. I'm out of the forest now and I'm walking home and I am totally soaked. I have water in my boots still, and this is kind of where it's getting bad because you just feel the wind chill and it's always there, never goes away. I'm doing okay. Another thing about this is that the cold seems to get into your respiratory system a bit. I've only really walked about 50 meters, but it feels like I've walked 500 meters. Numbness in my hands is there, but I still feel warm in the knees. weird as that sounds, like I feel really warm in the knees. I don't have any feeling in my feet. My fingers feel like they're about to fall off. I think my hair is freezing. Okay. But, you know, despite how like overwhelmingly negative I feel right now, there's a very strong motivator in knowing that if I reach the destination, if I reach the finish line, all this suffering ends. It's about 100 meters now. And overall, I'm glad I did this. Well, I made it. I don't know if you can see it, but there's ice in my beard. It's melting a bit now, but when I was walking out there in the cold, you don't really think straight. You kind of you feel the cold in your brain, if that makes sense. Like it gets to you.
Another thing I don't really touch on here in this clip is that I'm in my house and I'm still wearing the wet clothing. I walked around my house for like a good 15 minutes and I didn't think of anything wrong with that. It's only after I warmed up a little bit and saw the mess I was making that I decided that, you know, maybe me walking around in this wet getup is not the best thing. If I had to rate it, I'd say that jumping in the water initially was only the second worst part of this. I mean, when you get in the water and you're immediately bombarded by this feeling of overwhelming cold, it kind of gets to a point where it just stagnates. You don't feel any worse. I'd have to say that the worst part of this was easily walking home. Any exposed skin I had was just beleaguered by the wind. You can only willpower your way through nature so far. You can try, but in the end, Mother Nature always seems to win.
Well, this about concludes the video. If you just wanted to watch someone do something stupid, well, it's pretty much over for you. But if you want to learn something, I'd recommend you stick around. I learned some very valuable life lessons doing this, and I'd like to share them with you.
I was tasked with making this video for a school assignment. There was no context other than to make a video about yourself. I knew I wanted to jump into the lake during winter. It was something I've always wanted to do. But I went into this severely underprepared. I arrived at the beach thinking I would be able to jump immediately. As you can see from some of these clips, the ice would have made it a one-way trip. Coming back to land would have been arduous at best, impossible at worst. Therefore, the potential for a one-way trip occurring was very high, so I had to reevaluate my situation. I initially thought that, my video is good enough. It hit the criteria. Why not just upload it saying that I failed? I tried, but I failed. But I couldn't do that. I looked at the video, and I couldn't stand what I saw in it. The task was only to do a video about 1 to 2 minutes in length, and I had hit that good enough criteria. But that was the problem. I had hit the good enough criteria when I had set a personal goal that was higher than the good enough criteria. And I gave up. I gave up because it got hard. I set a personal standard and I was content on not achieving it. I'm very glad I reevaluated that stance. You can go your entire life hitting that good enough standard, and you will be okay. Not good, not bad, just okay. You're settling for mediocrity. I mean, a lot of people have this mentality, and a lot of people are just okay. But the problem is that if you really want to set a personal goal and achieve it with meaning, good enough doesn't cut it. And that's the message I want to extend to you, the viewer. Just because something gets hard doesn't mean you should give up. The mountain of achievement is arduous, painful, brutal, filled with doubt from both others and self. You will want to quit every step of the way, but I promise you, you are more capable than you think. Anything worth achieving in this life will not be easy. If it was, everyone else would have already done it. My concluding message to you, viewer, is that I never want to settle for good enough. And I hope that you also don't want to settle for good enough. You may slip and fall from the path. You may fail multiple times. But I encourage you, keep failing. It only takes one failure to go right. And that becomes a triumph. And a triumph can be whatever you want it to be.